finally, this is going to lead into our discussion. We need to talk about what happened when Chelsea took on Tottenham. A 2-0 loss. They seem to beat Tottenham every year. I saw this like previews from Tottenham and Chelsea fans, and Tottenham fans were saying how they lose every year to Chelsea. It's a guaranteed loss. And well, for the first season in a while, Chelsea have not beaten Tottenham in any competition. 4 points from a possible 6, a 2-0 loss away from home. And to put the icing on the cake, they've conceded to Oliver Skip.
Oliver Skip. First ever goal for Spurs.
First goal for Spurs.
And what a goal it was.
I mean, if you're going to score your first goal, scoring it at home in a London derby in that style is kind of how you'd want it to go.
Exactly.
And, I mean, from the Tottenham's perspective, it's a great win. They're, taking advantage of Newcastle not playing. And I'm not going to lie, I do look at Newcastle right now and I do think their top 4 hopes are really slipping away. Because they've drawn so many games in the space of like a month. It just felt like they were drawing 0-0 every week. And
I think they've scored some of the since November. There's this stats, and Newcastle have scored some of the least amount of goals as well. So it's getting a little bit troubling for them. But back to Tottenham, it's weird that, as you said, Chelsea have gone away to Tottenham, and Tottenham have actually looked convincing for once. I mean, fair play to them. I want them to lose every weekend, but they had a decent win, and it comes very intrinsically to Chelsea's downfall at the moment as well.
I mean, if you mention what's happening at Chelsea, a 2-0 loss at Spurs is just damning, because that's the one time their fans, this was the perfect chance for Potter. If he wins on the weekend against Spurs, it's a big win against a big rival, that will really give a boost to the fans. And again, it's just not happening for them. And you just got to look at what's happening at that club, and nothing seems right. There's no positive overall feel anywhere. I've seen Chelsea fans complain about videos of the players walking out at Stamford Bridge because none of them look that excited, none of them look like they care, and it does just feel like no one knows what's actually happening there.
It's horrific for Chelsea at the moment. I mean, 10th in the Premier League, 2 wins in their last 15 games. They've only scored 8 goals. No team in the Premier League has scored fewer goals than them since November. Leeds, in that time, have scored more than double the amount of goals that they have scored. I mean, I'm going to ask you now, lads, right? Just a quick answer. Do you think Graham Potter should be sacked?
Yes.
Take your agenda for Graham Potter away from this, because I think we've all got one. We all quite like him.
Here's the thing: who do they get in?
I don't think that's part of the question.
No.
I think
I would never sack a manager if you don't have one coming in.
I don't know about that, because
I disagree as well.
If it's going wrong,
it's like saying, should Man United have sacked Ollie? They didn't have Ralph Rangnick lined up straight away.
Yeah. Look, if they sacked him tomorrow or today, I would completely understand the reasoning behind it. But the thing is, I just feel like the problems are way above Potter.
Yeah, obviously.
Because it's a massive changeover at the club, and I don't think they really know what's happening. I mean, I don't understand how you can spend 300 million on a manager and then a month later sack them, because it just shows this project. They're trying to do what Arsenal are doing, and they are not the right club to try it. They're not a patient club. They're a naturally impatient club. And
they are that. I mean, since they had all their riches in the early 2000s, sacking managers is their only solution to a bad run of games. That's all they've ever done. And it kind of does make sense for Chelsea to sack their managers. Gus Hiddink won the FA Cup after replacing Scolari in 2009. Roberto Di Matteo won the Champions League and FA Cup after they sacked Andre Villas-Boas. And just recently, Thomas Tuchel won the Champions League after Frank Lampard got sacked. So maybe if there was someone lined up, this could be the perfect time for for Ted Bowley to completely revamp his start at Chelsea and get some wins on the board and maybe even win a trophy or 2. But for me right now, if it's any other manager, you sack Graham Potter. But as you said, they want to have that thing of sticking by their manager. They want to have that Arteta effect, and they want to just kind of not rush into things and maybe create a new kind of legacy at Chelsea. But I don't think it's the way to go forward if you are just going to buy this new superstar player every 5 minutes. Maybe when things are going wrong, you've got to sack a manager every 5 minutes as well.
Well, you guys, neither of you have said Graham Potter, should he get sacked?
No, yes, I think he should be. If you're a Chelsea fan right now, you just...
Think, if this was Arsenal, would you want him to be sacked?
I still don't know, because I look and I don't think he's the problem. I think he's the figurehead of a bigger problem behind Chelsea. I think Todd Bowley is massively mismanaging the club. It's the first time he's been involved in football, and I think he's finding out that you can't just splash the cash at a problem, and it's given them a bigger problem now, where they've got a massive squad with tons of players, tons of them haven't played in the Premier League, and that is creating an even bigger issue, because now you're forcing players into the team, and it's a disaster. And then you've got Aubameyang, and for the first time ever, Aubameyang's not being played. It's not his fault. He's done nothing wrong, and I almost feel sorry for him, because what happened at Arsenal happened. But here, he's just being disregarded, and he is genuinely the only out-and-out number 9 at that club, and they can't score a goal.
And there's definitely more out-and-out number 9s than Aubameyang is in his career. I mean, he played on the left for most of his games.
I know,
so.
But still, he's getting subbed on at 2-0, and you see his face, he's gutted, and it's just a bit like, I just can't understand.
I think the only thing that changes things is that it is Graham Potter. If you are a Chelsea fan and you're looking and you didn't know anything about Graham Potter before he came to Chelsea, bizarrely you didn't know anything, you'd say, yeah, he needs to be sacked. However, all us three, it's worth pointing out, we all go to the University of Brighton. Therefore, we kind of followed Brighton quite heavily last season, and we really respected Graham Potter towards the end of his Brighton career, and we all want him to be the next England manager. We want him to replace Southgate. I think that was quite unanimous amongst us three. And what he's done with Ostersands and how he's come through, he was at Swansea before Brighton, wasn't he? And then he is a top quality manager, and he knows how to. He does know. I feel like he does know what he's doing, and it is really impressive what he's done. But I think the difference maker at the moment is that he's dealing with something that he hasn't dealt with before. I know throughout his career the clubs have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, but this is on another scale, and you've got these superstars to manage, and you've got all these new players coming in. It's tricky for him.
I've said this before though. I don't know what it is. Maybe it is just because it's Chelsea, but Graham Potter. I don't think he has sort of that sort of big team management in him.
Just because he hasn't done it before.
Not just because he hasn't done it before. I can't.
But that is a factor in that. But
I mean, I look at Chelsea now. I just like maybe he could, but I just don't. I don't really know.
He's not installing much confidence at the moment, is he? However, I just like him, and I'm going to say yes, he should be sacked, but I hope he doesn't.
Yeah. Okay. Well, mate, I think Chelsea will sack him. I wouldn't personally, but if they do sack him, one thing I think it does say is I think it says that the person in charge of transfers isn't the manager, and it is probably Todd Bowley, and I think that in itself would answer a billion, would show that the problem is even bigger, because I think that's a massive misunderstanding of how to manage a football club. You can't go in and spend 200, 300 million in one window and expect all your problems to go away, because all it's done is given them even more. I mean, also they got rid of Jorginho, and you can't. During the window, all I heard from Chelsea fans is there's a problem with their midfield. They sign a midfielder and they sell one. Okay, you still got a problem. You've still got, in the summer, Kante's ageing. He's had a massive injury problem. Same with Kovacic, and it's just they've got too many players now. They've got too many players. And the thing is, they spent that much in January, and still they aren't playing an out-and-out number 9 up front. They signed a young guy in Fofana. If they knew they weren't going to play Aubameyang, why didn't they sign, maybe someone more, to that liking? It's funny because they brought in Felix, who would actually give Aubameyang the service he's needed all season, and they're not really getting minutes together. Havertz, I'm sorry, but I have never rated Havertz for 1 minute.
No, I've rated
and he
Havertz.
Starts week in, week out. I think he's awful.
Havertz is a quality player in the Bundesliga, and I know the Premier League is a different kettle of fish, but no, Havertz is a decent player. I don't think he's awful.
I look at him right now, and I just think he's not doing what's required of him. And
I'd still back Mudryk to win the Ballon d'Or though.
Mudryk's looked awful.
Mudryk's looked not really managed to do anything of note as far with Chelsea. And I just look at them, and it's just a mess. I don't see a plan. I don't see an end goal. I don't know where they're going, what they're doing, what style of football. What is Chelsea's style of play? What's their identity? Because if you can't answer that, then there's nothing going right at that club. The first thing to do is be, what are we? What are we? And they don't know that. And I think that's a massive problem. That's why they're not scoring goals. That's why they're conceding goals. And it's just, I mean, I feel great about it, but it's just ludicrous how a club this big is being mismanaged.
But where do they go from there? We've not answered the question where they go from here.
Where they go?
Because I'm not being funny. issue, like you said, the issue is deeper, but Bowley's not going to leave.
Well, Bowley can't leave. He's bought a club. You know?
Exactly.
I think they've just got to wait. They've just got to hope these players all fit in together. They've got to hope they bring in a manager who likes all of these players and can fit them all into a style of play. Because if you're a manager and you know the signings aren't you, and you know the signings are above you, and you are being given players and you're being told, play this way, play with these players, is that actually an attractive position? No, maybe not. Because the odds are they probably won't spend as much in January because you can't sign 5 players every window. You can't. And because you're going to have to keep getting rid of players. You know, so if they get someone in, they're not probably going to get backed with players they want to sign.
I saw something quite interesting on Twitter recently, and it was that should Graham Potter and Antonio Conte swap jobs? And you know, Antonio Conte comes into Chelsea, he knows how to deal with big players, he knows how to kind of fit everything together and perhaps work something out at Chelsea. You know, he's shown that in the past. He won the title, he won the FA Cup there as well. And I think Potter does suit Tottenham quite nicely as well. It's not quite as high profile, and it would just, you know, makes things kind of all fit together. But at the same time, I'm quite enjoying them struggling. So yeah, let's keep it this way.